At 11:47 p.m., a single father sat alone in his boss's dark office, staring at a dating profile that could have changed both of their lives. He had been hired to manage budgets, schedules, and impossible deadlines, not to teach a powerful woman how to smile for a photograph or explain why every sentence in her profile sounded like a legal contract. But that night, while he was quietly fixing the words she had written about herself, she walked back into the office, looked over his shoulder, and asked the question he never expected to hear. "Why not date me?" He laughed because he thought she was joking. She wasn't. Before we go any further, if you believe that kindness can change a person's life, that second chances are real, and that sometimes love finds us when we least expect it, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to Kindness Speaks. Your support helps us bring more stories of compassion, courage, and unexpected second chances. Ethan Parker was 36 years old, a single father, and the kind of man who had learned to measure his life in school pickups, grocery bills, unpaid invoices, and the number of hours of sleep he could survive on without making a mistake at work. He had been a husband once, but that chapter had ended quietly and painfully 3 years earlier when his wife decided she wanted a different life. There had been no dramatic betrayal, no screaming match that ended with broken plates. She simply left one morning after months of saying she felt trapped, leaving Ethan with their 6-year-old daughter, Lily, and a small apartment filled with memories he couldn't afford to throw away. Lily was the reason Ethan kept moving. Every morning, he packed her lunch before sunrise. He tied her shoes when she was too sleepy to do it herself. He checked her homework while making dinner, and after she fell asleep, he sat at the kitchen table with his laptop and worked until his eyes burned. He had become an expert at hiding exhaustion. At work, he smiled. At home, he smiled. When someone asked if he was okay, he said yes because explaining the truth took too much energy. His new job at Sterling Horizon Solutions had been the best opportunity he had received in years. The company was led by 39-year-old Claire Bennett, a brilliant executive known throughout the city for turning struggling businesses into successful ones. Claire was disciplined, intelligent, elegant, and intimidating without ever intentionally trying to be. She wore simple dark suits, kept her hair perfectly styled, and seemed to have an answer for every problem before anyone else had even understood the question. To Ethan, she was simply his boss. To most people, she was untouchable. Claire had built the company after inheriting a small failing division from her father. Within 8 years, she had transformed it into a multi-million-dollar operation. Business magazines called her fearless. Employees called her demanding. Competitors called her impossible to beat. But almost nobody knew what happened when she went home. Her penthouse was enormous, beautifully decorated, and painfully quiet. There were no children's drawings on the refrigerator. No shoes left beside the door. No voice asking whether dinner was ready. No one waiting for her. Claire had spent so many years proving that she could succeed alone that eventually she had forgotten what it felt like to have someone beside her. She had tried dating. Several times. None of it had worked. Some men wanted her money. Others wanted her influence. Some were intimidated by her success. A few liked the idea of dating a powerful woman until they realized that being with Claire meant accepting that she didn't need to be rescued. Then came the dating apps. Claire hated them. She hated the photographs, the endless swiping, the shallow introductions, and especially the profiles where people tried to sound impressive instead of honest. One Monday morning, she called Ethan into her office. He arrived carrying a folder and expecting another budget crisis. Instead, Claire pointed toward her computer. Ethan stared at the screen. There it was. A dating profile. His boss had apparently decided that finding love was the next project she needed to manage. Claire looked embarrassed for the first time since Ethan had met her. She explained that a friend had convinced her to create the profile, but after several attempts, she couldn't make it sound like a real person had written it. Everything looked too formal. Too cold. Too polished. Ethan tried not to smile. He told her that her profile sounded like a corporate press release. Claire stared at him. Then, surprisingly, she laughed. It was a small laugh, but Ethan noticed something in it. She sounded relieved. For the next 20 minutes, Ethan helped her rewrite the profile. He removed words like highly accomplished, strategic thinker, and passionate about professional growth. He replaced them with simple things. She loved rainy evenings. She secretly watched old romantic movies. She hated cooking but loved eating homemade food. She enjoyed bookstores, quiet restaurants, and long drives without a destination. Claire watched the screen as Ethan typed. Then she asked him how he knew what women wanted to read. Ethan shrugged. He told her he didn't. He only knew what he would want to read if he were trying to get to know someone. That answer stayed with her. What Claire didn't know was that Ethan's ability to understand people came from years of observing one person in particular, his daughter. Lily had taught him that people often say one thing while feeling something completely different. A child could say she wasn't hungry when she was actually sad. She could say she didn't care when she desperately wanted someone to notice. Ethan had learned to look beneath words. That was exactly what Claire needed. For the first time, someone wasn't trying to impress her. He was trying to understand her. Over the next few weeks, the strange little project continued. Claire would occasionally send Ethan a photograph and ask whether it looked too serious. He would tell her the truth. If the photograph looked like a business headshot, he said so. If a description sounded fake, he rewrote it. If she received a message from someone who seemed interested only in her wealth, Ethan noticed almost immediately. Claire began joking that Ethan was her unofficial dating consultant. Ethan joked that he was going to add it to his resume. But something unexpected began happening. They started talking. Not just about work. Claire learned about Lily. She learned that Lily loved astronomy, hated peas, and believed every stray cat in the neighborhood was secretly waiting for Ethan to adopt it. Ethan learned that Claire's mother had passed away when she was young. He learned that Claire had spent much of her childhood trying to make her father proud. He learned that the reason she worked so hard wasn't simply ambition. She was terrified of failure. Terrified that if she stopped achieving, people would stop seeing her as valuable. One evening, after everyone else had gone home, Claire found Ethan asleep at his desk. His laptop was still open. A school email was visible on the screen. Lily's teacher had written that she had been unusually quiet that week. Ethan woke up and immediately apologized. Claire told him he didn't need to. He rubbed his eyes and admitted he had been up late the previous night because Lily had been sick. Claire looked at him differently. For years, people had treated her like someone who could solve everything. But Ethan was sitting there with tired eyes, a wrinkled shirt, and a life that demanded something from him every minute. He was struggling. Yet he was still kind. That night, Claire ordered dinner for both of them. It wasn't a grand gesture. It was just 2 meals on a conference table in an empty office. But for Claire, it was the first time in years that the silence didn't feel so heavy. As the weeks passed, Claire began receiving more attention on the dating app. Ethan had helped her become more honest. And honesty made her profile feel human. She went on 2 dates. Both were disasters. The first man spent most of dinner talking about Claire's company. The second casually asked how much money she had before dessert. Claire returned to the office the following morning and deleted both conversations. Ethan found her sitting in her office staring at the screen. He asked if she was okay. She told him she was beginning to think dating was a terrible idea. Ethan smiled and told her that maybe the problem wasn't dating. Maybe she was looking for people who were attracted to the version of her that everyone else could see. Claire asked what that meant. He explained that she had spent years building a wall around herself, and then she was surprised when nobody knew how to reach her. Claire became quiet. Then she asked him something that made him uncomfortable. She asked what he would do if he were in her position. Ethan said he would stop trying so hard. He would stop looking for someone impressive. He would look for someone who made ordinary days feel less ordinary. Claire stared at him for a long moment. Neither of them noticed how personal the conversation had become. Until one Friday evening. It was raining heavily outside. Most employees had already left. Ethan was finishing a report when Claire walked into his office holding her phone. She looked nervous. She had received another message from a man she had been speaking to online. He wanted to meet her. She asked Ethan if he thought she should go. Ethan read the message. Something about it felt wrong. He told her not to. Claire asked why. Ethan couldn't explain it logically. He simply said the man seemed more interested in her lifestyle than her personality. Claire studied his face. Then she smiled. She told him that maybe he was getting too good at this. Ethan laughed. He told her that perhaps she should pay him a consultant fee. Claire said she might. Then the room became